Okay, everyone, can you hear me okay and see me?
I was just asking about you,
Yeah,
Randall.
I apologize. I'm late. I've had some connectivity issues. Getting back on, but I'm here now. So, do we have a quorum present, Courtney?
Buddy, you make me worry about you, Randall.
Yes,
Well,
sir, we have a quorum.
thank you. It's not really me. It's my internet not playing nice today, but we're doing the best we can here. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. I call the meeting back to order. To resume our business, Courtney, is Mary Lee available to give an update on education and employment?
I am here.
Hi, Mary Lee, you have the floor.
Hi, everybody. I am just going to update you guys on the Education Employment Committee because Ms. Mary Tarver is not able to make the council meeting. So the Education and Employment Committee met on Thursday, April 15th. There were no motions that the committee has to bring forward to the full council. It was really just updates. Dr. Sarah Fletcher gave an update from the Louisiana Department of Education. And this is also linked in your packet materials. Melissa Bayham gave an update from Louisiana Rehabilitation Services. And I believe her update is also linked in the packet materials. And I gave an update on activity 5.3.3, which is our activity on seminars on hiring individuals with developmental disabilities. This is with our contractor, O'Neill Communications. And Courtney gave an update on LAPI, Louisiana Post-Secondary Inclusive Education Alliance, activity 3.4.2, and customized employment training, activity 5.1.3. And Courtney and I's updates are in the status report. That is everything from education and employment.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Mary Lee about the report? She's filing on behalf of Mary, who's absent. No questions with regard to the report Mary Lee has delivered, correct? Okay, thank you, Mary Lee, very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll move into our standing council member reports. And the first I have listed for today is the Bureau of Health Services and Financing, which is Medicaid. So is Jen Katzman available? Jen, are you on with us? Is anyone from Medicaid available to give the report? It's linked there on our agenda, so it's been submitted. And I just wonder if anyone from the Bureau of Health Services and Financing Medicaid is available to give that report to us. Okay, I would assume not. So we'll come back to that in a moment after some other reports have been given to make sure before we take action there. Office of Citizens with Developmental Disabilities, Julie Foster Hagen, are you available?
Hi, everybody. I'm here.
Thank
And
you, Julie. You have the floor.
I just texted Jen because she told me she was going to be on, so she may have just had to step away.
Sure, I understand, and that's why we can accommodate that when she comes back. But if you're ready, Julie, by all means, you have the floor.
Sure. So some of my, you guys all should have my report, and some of the information that I have, I'll work to maybe try to provide some additional information or clarification from some of the earlier questions we had in the meeting as well. I think it was mentioned that we did have 2 listening sessions that were very well attended, to talk about what happens with our home and community-based waivers after the public health emergency ends. And they were very well attended, and we got a lot of positive feedback. So one of the things that OCDD is going to be looking for opportunities for is to do that more often. And so anytime we will, of course, we will let the council know. But, a lot of families just said that they were very pleased with an opportunity for folks at the state office level to hear from them and for them to be able to have a voice and share what issues and concerns were important to them. So again, that was a learning lesson for me that we need to take an opportunity to do that more often. So we'll be looking at opportunities to do that in the future as well. We will be, we heard from folks, and we are going to be looking at what are some of the longer term flexibilities or changes we need to make for after the public health emergency. Those exceptions are all listed in the report that you guys have. We're working to do that quickly so that we can then have additional public forums where we share with folks, what our thoughts are on some of the things that people felt were important to them, such as family members continuing to be paid caregivers and the ability to continue to do some things virtually versus in person. So we'll be developing a plan for that and laying that out. And again, plan to have additional meetings where we share with folks what those are. I do want to try to clarify about some of the questions we have about the public health emergencies. So when there is a public health emergency or a disaster or something, there are declarations that are made both at the federal level and at the state level. When we often, here in Louisiana, we often have public health emergencies called for hurricanes or floods or things like that, where that requires, when there's that declaration of a public health emergency, what that does is it allows for some of the flexibilities like we have in our waiver, and it allows for sometimes some additional funding. That might be FEMA funding, or it might be additional funds that we have available to us in Medicaid or some other state agencies to take certain actions to help folks respond to the emergency. And so, under COVID, it's not usual that we're under a public health emergency for as long as we are. But because of, because COVID has had such a long lasting timeline and impact, they have continued to declare that public health emergency at the federal level. Every emergency has different things tied to it. So there has been a lot of additional funding and considerations related to COVID while we've been under this public health emergency. But I believe Mike said that it is accurate that the federal government can only declare these public health emergencies for a period of 90 days at this point. So on the public health emergency has been extended. It was extended this week. The current timeline for that public health emergency to end is July 14th. And so when it gets to be July, what the federal government will do is they will consider, do we need to extend that for another 90 days or do we need to, end it sooner? And so it's just sort of like every 3 months is when we learn if it will be extended or if it will end. What the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare did is they said, we know that you need some time from when the public health emergency ends to when the changes that we made in our waiver ends. So what they did is they came out and said that states could choose to ask for the exceptions and flexibilities to stay in place for 6 months after the end of the public health emergency. So in Louisiana, that's what we've done. So there's not really I know folks, it would be a lot easier if we knew a date, but we don't have a date. So right now, because the public health emergency was extended to July, that means we have until January right now before those exceptions will end. If they do extend it again in July, then we will have more time to be able to do that. Roslyn asked about intermediate care facilities. We do have some exceptions and flexibilities that are in place as well at our intermediate care facilities. Those are related to things like leave days and whatnot. So if people wanted to leave the intermediate care facility and stay with their families, either because of COVID or, if someone in their, let's say we've had some folks who did that because they had others in their group home who got sick and they wanted to not be there while they were sick. So they might've gone to stay home with their family. So we've extended and made some changes related to the leave days there. So those things will stay in place as well for our group homes. The changes are just a little different than what we have in our home and community-based waiver. We are also closely watching, and I think someone mentioned, so I definitely have that on my radar to try to make sure that we're doing some more educational and information on state and federal legislation. I can tell you under the Biden administration, there's much talk about the direct support workforce. And I know that's a big issue for the council and for people who need the services, just trying to have a qualified workforce, have people available to work and have people who are qualified and are able to provide those services. And we know that's a big issue, not just in Louisiana, but nationally. So the Biden administration has talked about some potential additional funding and educational opportunities to help improve the direct support workforce. So we're closely watching that. I don't have a lot of information on that yet because a lot of it is still just building. We also know there's the American Rescue Act, and I've received a lot of emails and questions from folks because one part, the American Rescue Act was really large, but one piece of that was that it allowed states to get some additional federal funds that we pull down for home and community-based services. And we do know that funding will only be available for a period of 1 year. And unfortunately, that 1 year time frame started April 1st, but we still don't have information from CMS about exactly what we can use that money on. We know that CMS has said it's important, and the federal legislators have said it's important that any additional money we pull down for home and community-based services goes back into home and community-based services. But we are waiting for CMS to give us some additional information about that. In the listening session, I did share some information there. And once we know more about what we can and can't use those funds for, we're also going to be engaging or having some opportunity just to hear from the public and from our stakeholders about any ideas or suggestions they have about that funding. But by all means, I've already started getting emails at our ocddinfo@la.gov and to my own email address, julie.hagan@la.gov. So if you do have ideas or suggestions, or there's things that are important to you for us to consider, please feel free to go ahead and send those in. But again, until we get that guidance from CMS, we won't be able to really do any in-depth planning or outreach because we need to understand what the parameters are that we'll be able to spend that money for. So I'll stop there because there's a lot more detail in the report, but those are just kind of some high level, big picture items, and I'm happy to take any questions folks have.
Thank you, Julie. Are there any questions for Julie regarding her report?
Rosalind has her hand raised.
Rosalind, you have the floor.
Thank you. But yeah, I do. Because well, there is a question, but I also want to state it that Magnolia Community Service and that they making some changes in that here at Magnolia. We are no longer having special creations anymore. So I guess you could say that, we're going to have PJ's Coffee House. PJ's coffee company on campus and that. So that's one thing that, they using special creations to build on that. So that's one thing. But now the question part is that for the other people with disability and that, how can they get jobs off campus and to hold the job so they can get paid to do it, and with the living with the waiver.
Yeah, Rosalind, that's a good question. We had been moving full force with an initiative related, lots of initiatives related to employment. And I know that's important to the to not just the Developmental Disabilities Council, but also the Governor's Office of Disability Affairs and their council that they have there. And unfortunately, a lot of we were moving forward, and then when COVID hit, I think it just sort of got us off track with that. But there started to be more conversations, at least from OCDD. I can't speak for other agencies, but from OCDD, we are part of a group called the State Employment Learning Network, SELN. They had done a report and had given us some really great recommendations about a year and a half ago. So one of the things that we're doing in OCDD is trying to get back on track with those recommendations. We also know that while COVID did, stop some of the movement we had, just because employment in general was hard for everybody, persons with disabilities and without disabilities. But we're trying to see what are the opportunities now. So, some folks may have had trouble being able to have employment and be able to get out into the workforce. And now we know that there's a lot of, employment options that you can do virtually. And so you don't maybe need the transportation, and you can do that. So we're trying to get back on track, not just with the direction that we were planning to go in before COVID, but also looking at what are some new opportunities that we might have, with work at home and other things that people might be able to engage in. So
that's my other question, because I notice a lot with the transportation a lot of times. And so how can you get to work and from work and go back to the environment of the house, especially with the waiver as well? So I'm noticing that with different states as well. It's not just in the state of Louisiana.
Yeah, there's some different transportation options, but we know, and we have heard from the community, that transportation is an issue for people with disabilities. So there's some
Especially
targeted
like
strategies there.
I know I'm one of them.
So
Okay.
am I. Well, I'm talking about.
Okay, Rosalind, thank you for your input and questions. Do we have any other questions for Julie?
Yes, Randall, can I say a comment,
Yes, Joe,
please?
you have the floor. Yes, you do.
Okay, Miss Julie, quickly, two quick questions. What do you mean by the public health emergency extended or not extended? Is that something to do whenever the governor says COVID's gonna be done? I'm a little concerned about that.
Okay. So when I say the public health emergency, I'm talking about the federal public health emergency.
Okay.
So the department, I think it's Health and Human Services, is responsible for declaring that the public health emergency, and they are the ones who would extend it every 90 days. They consider what's going on and whether it needs to be extended. There are additional dollars the state can get as long as we have that public health emergency in place. But there are also some things that we have to follow in order to get that additional funding. And so that is tied to the public health emergency. Also, the exceptions that we have in our waiver are tied to the public health emergency. That's different than what the governor might declare. There is a state declaration, but I think what you're referring to, Jill, or there's the governor has made recommendations as we roll out into phase 1 or phase 2 or phase 3 related to our COVID response. And then some individual, cities have had some different, so there's a state declaration, but then I know Baton Rouge and New Orleans had some of their own individual recommendations related to COVID response. So those things are updated more often than every 90 days. They're reviewed at different timeframes. And so that's different. That happens at the state or local level as opposed to the federal level. So when you hear us talk about it being extended 90 days, that's the federal level declaration. Does that help make it clear?
Yeah, Miss Julian, I've seen a big improvement with COVID this year, especially with the vaccinations. But is there talk, because I know where you work with that agency, that we IDD community population has to go get another round of the vaccine booster? Because I've been hearing that on the news.
I don't have any information about that, but I can ask the folks at the Office of Public Health for some additional information on that.
And in terms of the ARCA-GNO, like I'm back in person and I love that because I don't do the virtual service, but how will your department know if a lot of my people are fully ratio back where we don't have the service from the OCDD? How will that be determined?
I'm not sure I understand that question, Jill.
So like some of my people go to the Day Hab Center, provided by services. Some do virtual.
Right.
And the last time I heard indication that if a lot of the ratio people that got vaccinated are in person, then they possibly won't have the Day Hab ARCA-GNO virtual service.
Well, one of the things that when we're talking about what we want to do long-term after the public health emergency ends, one of the things we've gotten feedback on is that people would like to see that virtual day habilitation continue to be an option. And so we've already made a decision that one of the things we do want to do long-term is to keep that virtual day habilitation and the small group activities that we put in place. We want to continue that service even after the public health emergency.
So it would be their option rather to do that or to go back in person, whatever their care plan is.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Miss Julie.
Thank you, Jill.
You're welcome, Randy.
Are there any other questions for Julie regarding her report?
Jill Hano has her hand raised.
Yes, Ms. Hano, you have the floor.
Okay, can I listen to these listening sections on the OCDD website, Miss Julie?
We were having some technical difficulty trying to get them recorded and on the website. So, but our plan was to try to make that happen. I'll follow up. I know one of them we were able to upload. So I'll double check that, but we're trying hard to make sure, and I think there was a question in the chat earlier too. Any of the webinars that we do that are, suggested by the DD Council or others, what we try to do is offer a live webinar, offer an opportunity for people to send in questions. And then if there's questions afterwards, to post them on the website. And our goal is to try to get it recorded and posted on our website. We're like everybody else, still trying to understand the technology to do that. And we've had a couple of things we thought we could do, and then it didn't quite work the way we wanted to. But our goal is to have the webinar, and then when folks can't participate, that it's recorded and put on the website. But I'll follow up to see if those 2 listening sessions were able to get there.
So there were only 2?
Pardon me?
There were just 2?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. Excuse my gumbo in the background barking.
Gumbo.
Are there any other questions for Julie about her report?
Well, I hate to not raise my hand in that, but I do, because there is there's some initials that I might bring up in that. I really with how can I say it? It's like with the D, like a DHH and that, and I wanted to find out through Jill and that for that. I don't know
Julie?
if that, huh?
You mean through Julie?
Yeah,
Okay.
Some of the-
because
There's some initials in my report that are not clear. Is that what you're asking, Rosalind?
yeah, because for us, we have to wait for like a WDHH so we could go back, back to campus where at Magnolia. So that's what's kind of confusing me and throwing me way off, off balance.
Okay.
I don't know if you know those initials.
There is, there are regulations that our department has put out. And that's the Department of Health and Hospitals. I think DHH is, we now call ourselves the Louisiana Department of Health. And then we also have the Office of Public Health. There are different and health standards section, and they have some regulations and guidelines that are mandated. But then each individual provider also is able to make decisions for what they feel like they need to do to maintain health and safety. So there are some things that are, required by the department, but then there are some things that providers are able to do on their own. So, I don't know that answers your question, but right now there's not a mandatory closure for those work settings. They are able to open back up if their parish positivity rate is under 5%. But we know that some providers feel like they can't ensure health and safety, and so they have not yet opened up. And that is up to the individual provider to decide at this point.
Well, that's what I'm looking for. The answer I'm looking
Okay,
for.
thank you. Thank you, Rosalind, for your question. Thank you, Julie,
Thank
for
you.
your answer. Are there any other questions for Julie regarding her report? Okay, hearing none. Thank you so much, Julie. And
Okay, and I think Jen is back on.
she is, and your report will be entered into the record. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Jen, if you're available,
I am.
you have the floor to give your report today.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Randall. Hi, everybody. Good to see you all. And I sincerely apologize. I was not able to be on this morning. I'm sure Julie has expressed this legislative session has been quite intense so far, even though we're only in about I don't know if it's the second week or third week at this point, but yeah, we were there all morning. So I apologize. In my report, I'll be brief. It mostly covers updates on the key services in Medicaid that we usually report on, permanent supportive housing, money follows the person, our electronic visit verification implementation of behavioral health and ABA. So I won't reread over those. It's in the report if you would like to see those statistics. However, at the very top of the report, I do provide an update on the Act 421 children's Medicaid option. And it looks like I have a typo, so I apologize about that. It should say Act 421 Children's Medicaid Option Implementation and Timeline. So, but what this is our TEFRA-like program. And as you've heard me speak about in previous meetings, we submitted our application for that program back in September of 2020, but we're still waiting on CMS approval. And we have not been able to get a firm commitment from them on when they think we will be able to get that approval. So we had hoped to roll it out by now. And unfortunately, because that federal approval is required, we have been unable to do so. So we are just working with them as much as we can to answer any questions they have. And we have submitted all the documentation required, and we're ready to roll it out as soon as we get the go-ahead from the feds. The last piece that we're working on is just that registration portal online for folks, and that will be ready this month. So like I said, we're ready to kick it off as soon as we get CMS approval. I do want to go ahead and let you know that typically for projects like this, CMS prefers that they are that they start at the beginning of a quarter, because they tie to some very specific reporting requirements to the federal government. So I would anticipate that whatever approval date we get from CMS to start the program will be at the start of a quarter, whether that is July 1st or October 1st or January 1st or April 1st. So I think that that's what we're looking at. Yeah, so I think that that's really the only new thing that's an update. I know in our committee earlier, our subcommittee earlier this week, I did report out on the budget, just high level, to let everyone know that given, as Julie talked about a minute ago, the COVID public health emergency, the extra funding that Medicaid is receiving from the federal government due to the COVID public health emergency has protected our budget for FY22. So we are able to maintain the same level of services without cuts at this time. And also because of that influx of federal funding, we've actually been able to support a lot of other state expenditures outside of the Department of Health. And so that does, however, limit our ability to expand things right now due to other state needs, but we are able to maintain our existing services. So that's very good news. And I think that that's it. I at a high level, we're tracking a lot of legislation right now. That's kind of our focus.
Well, thank you, Jen. Are there any questions for Jen regarding her report? Okay, thank you very much. Sure. Thank you for all the work you're doing. Your report will be entered into the record and filed.
Thank you, Randall.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Louisiana Rehabilitation Services. So, Melissa Mayhem, are you available and ready?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be with you this afternoon. My report has all the statistical information that I always provide to you all regarding our numbers in the vocational rehabilitation program and pre-employment transition services, as well as individuals open with who have developmental disabilities. One thing I want to just touch on very briefly, just in response to some things that Rosalind was saying earlier. I know that, you know, the different programs within the Department of Health have employment initiatives. But just to remind everyone, for individuals who are wanting to seek competitive employment, which is employment at or above minimum wage, in the community, Louisiana Rehabilitation Services, our vocational rehabilitation program, has never closed. We are open, our offices are open, generally by appointment. So you need to call first, just so we can make sure that we create a safe environment for everyone. But we also see clients virtually. So please, you know, if you are interested and you're not working and you would like to go to work, we are open and ready to serve anyone who is interested. One thing that I wanted to talk about, Miss Mary Tarver wanted me to talk about this to the whole group. It's something that I've reported on before, but she thought that maybe I should give everyone a refresher because it's something that's still pending, which is some promulgation or some rulemaking that we have pending at Louisiana Rehabilitation Services. We have some technical things being changed in our rule just from when we moved from DSS to the Louisiana Workforce Commission. That was never changed in our rule. But more importantly, the two major things that are changing. The first is actually already in effect through an emergency rule, but we did change the poverty guidelines for our services that are based on financial need from 250% of the poverty level to up to 500% of the poverty level. So we are able to serve more individuals for services that are based on financial need. And just a little, we have several services based on need and several services that are not, but just so you know, any employment development, job development or job placement services, including supported employment or time limited job coaching or customized employment, none of those services are based on financial need. But the other issue that we are tackling in our rulemaking is our order of selection. For those of you who are not aware, vocational rehabilitation, the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 requires that vocational rehabilitation programs serve individuals with the most significant disabilities first in the event that they do not have the funding to serve or the staffing to serve everyone. So when states cannot always do that, we have to implement what's called an order of selection, which is basically a waiting list. So right now we have 5 orders of selection, 1 being the most significantly disabled and 5 being non-significantly disabled. Right now we don't have any individuals on our waiting list, although order of selection group 5 remains closed. But we're typically able to take individuals off of the waiting list if we do have individuals on that waiting list. But what the rulemaking is going to do is it's going to change our order of selection from 5 categories to 3. So this is really just some technical things when counselors determine eligibility. But right now we have 2 most significantly disabled categories. That's categories 1 and 2. And we have 2 significantly disabled categories, which is 3 and 4. And those categories will be collapsed. In other words, now we'll only have 1 category, which will be category 1, which will be most significantly disabled. And category 2 will be significantly disabled. And 3 will be the non-significantly disabled. So I just wanted to give some updates on that. Our rehabilitation employment development specialist position, I know a lot of members have expressed interest in that particular position. Is our job, it's like an in-house job developer. At one point we weren't hiring for that position just because of different funding issues or staffing issues. But we have been approved to hire that position for all of our 8 regions. At this time we have 5. We still have vacancies in New Orleans, Alexandria, and Homa. We have submitted a name to hire for the New Orleans region. So hopefully that one will be filled soon. But we're still actively recruiting for our Alexandria and Homa positions. So if any of you have any individuals that are interested in those, please let me know. But like I said, that's a job developer position that's in-house within Louisiana Rehabilitation Services. I also like to let everyone know that our advisory council, which is the Louisiana Rehabilitation Council, does meet Thursday, April the 29th, if anyone is interested. And that's all that I have, but if anyone has any other questions or any other topics regarding LRS that you'd like me to discuss, I'd be happy to do so.
Thank you for your report, and I echo her sentiment. Does anyone have any questions for Melissa about her report?
Melissa, is there a link to the meeting on Thursday, or does that go for anybody?
I believe it's on boards and commissions, but if you would like me to get that information to you, I certainly will.
Yeah, can you please do that for me? I would like that very so much.
Sure will.
All right.
Thank you, Melissa, and thank you, Rosalind. Are there any other questions of Melissa regarding her report?
Yes, Randall.
Bambi has her hand up.
Thank you, Ebony. Thank you, Rosalind. Bambi, you have the floor.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind y'all of like a scheduling issue that Robin Wagner with Office of Aging will have to get off soon. So I don't know if y'all could rearrange in order for her to
Yes,
be able to
we
give her
can.
report.
And I saw, thank you for reminding me, Bambi. So Robin, if you're available and ready, you have the floor, assuming there are no other questions for Melissa regarding her report. And
Okay,
Melissa,
thank you, Randall. Can you hear me okay?
I can, thank you.
Great. All right, and I appreciate you taking me out of order. So I won't read our report to you. You have that. It shows the current number of participants in each of our programs, and also provide statistics on our Adult Protective Services program. I always like to take a moment, though, to talk about what's going on with our registry, right, which is our kind of the folks who have requested and are waiting to receive the Adult Day Health Care or the Community Choices waiver. We do have a short list now for the Adult Day Health Care waiver. That's largely due to the fact that we haven't been taking new admissions into Adult Day Health Care during the pandemic, simply because those centers are kind of unable to do their usual sort of intake in center-based services during the pandemic. On the Community Choices registry, that is our longest registry, which as of March, or as of the time of this report, which was end of February, that was over 11,000 individuals. However, it's important to note that of those 11,000, most of them, over 6,000 of them, are receiving home-based services, mostly through our long-term personal care services program, which is also known as long-term care. So that leaves a much shorter group of people who are waiting without a service. It's 5,476 who are waiting without a service. So while the average wait time on our waiting list, or well, I just want to say that the wait for them is now at about 3 years or so. So it's substantially shorter than what we've seen in the past for that, again, that group of individuals who aren't already receiving a service in their home. We are making 500 additional waiver offers in the current fiscal year, so between now and the end of June. And so that's a good thing, because that means that that list of 5,476 people will probably go down. New people get added to the list, but we should be able to serve more people than are going to get added over the next few months. So that is progress there. There was one other thing I wanted to share with you, because I don't want to take up too much time. I know you have a lot of reports, but the Office of Aging and Adult Services and OCDD have both been collecting data on vaccination rates in our home and community-based services. And I just wanted to let you all know that as of matches that we did on April 14th, about 38% of people in all of our home and community-based, Medicaid home and community-based services program, both for OCDD and OAS, have at least started the vaccination process. So we're really happy to see that. We're watching those numbers closely to see how that changes, and hopefully those numbers of folks vaccinated will grow over time. We've also been working really closely with our Office of Public Health to arrange for in-home vaccination of folks who can't get out for a vaccination. So that is my brief report, but I hope I hit the high points, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you, Robin. So does anyone have questions for Robin regarding her report?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
you, Randall.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the work y'all are doing. And your report has been filed.
I had a question.
Oh, you do? I'm sorry, Nicole.
Yeah, you probably just can't see me because how the cameras are.
Okay.
Okay, so if she goes, can you go up a little bit up on her report? Just a little. Okay, so it says the Community Choice Waiver Registry. Now, I'm new to the council, so I just wanted to know, like, what is the process that these people have to go through? I know you said the waiting list is 3 years. And I know you said some of them are getting services, and the wait list is technically like 5,400. So what is the process that they have to go through, or you guys have to go through to determine these services and how quickly this should go to? And I know that 2020 was crazy. So I get that. Like, to me, I feel like that year should just be, so yeah.
Right. So the process is, and as I said, we're going through this process right now because we have 500 additional waiver slots that we are funded for this year, right? So we're going through that process. And what we do is we send out a lot of waiver offers to folks that are on this registry. And we focus, first of all, on that 5,476 who aren't getting another service. So we send out a bunch of offers to them, and we wait to get their responses back. Then we assign a support they select. When they write back to us and say, yes, I'll take that waiver, I still want it, they tell us which support coordination agency they want to work with. The support coordination agency then schedules an initial assessment and care planning meeting with that person. That can be done virtually. So even though we're still in this horrible public health emergency, that can still happen. The person selects a provider and services start. Now, I'll be honest, all of that takes longer than we would like. We shorten the time frames. We like to see that happen in 45 days at most. Sometimes it's taking longer than that. But that's the basic process. And hopefully, especially for people living in the community who get these offers, that can happen pretty quickly. We also have a process where we use our own staff, they're called transition coordinators, to go into nursing homes. When the person who is getting the waiver offer is somebody who happens to be in a nursing home, then we go in, we make that offer using our own staff so that they can plan all the transition services for them as well. Sometimes that takes longer, because sometimes if somebody's in a nursing home, they may have lost their housing or their natural supports. But in general, does that answer your question about what the process is?
Yeah, because I was just saying, okay, so what is the actual process that they have to actually go through, or you guys have to go through, to tighten this up a little bit? I know everybody is working very hard because, people still need their services. And I know 2020 just was a hit and miss with a lot of stuff, and nobody's, it is what it is. Nobody can control the pandemic. But, maybe we could offer some, those technology things where things can be done quicker, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Nicole, and so it took us a little while to get that set up. And so there was definitely a slowdown in new people starting in our services. But I think we've been able to figure a lot of that out. And so now people should be able to get into services without more than the ordinary delays that we have. And some good news too is that despite all of this, we've been able to use technology, and we've also been able to use people just using social distancing and meeting outside and being careful to make sure that we're also doing nursing facility transitions. So you'd be surprised that even during the pandemic, when the nursing homes were kind of like not letting a lot of visitors in, we still transitioned out over 100 people from nursing homes into the community.
That's good.
So it slowed us down, but it hasn't stopped us.
There you go. Okay.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
And so are there any other questions of Robin regarding her report?
I did have a question for her, but Nicole kind of shined a light for me. So thank you, Nicole.
Great, thank you. And thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Robin. Your report will be entered into the record, and thank you very much for all you do. Okay, and so we'll go back up the list to Department of Education. I believe it's Ms. Sarah Fletcher, correct?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm excited to present our report today. I had some COVID-19 updates to start. We found out from a tracker that was developed by the American Enterprise Institute that Louisiana schools rank 7th for in-person instruction. So that means that we've been able to get a lot of kids back into the school building. We are also launching a lot of new initiatives around, how to make up some of the learning that was lost this year. And now that students are coming back, how we help catch them up. So we've released some guidance around some summer programs. And we also have related resources around the pandemic relief guidance, as we know that there's going to be more money coming in. And that's related to the next item, which is about the IDEA budget. We are currently in the public comment period of the draft of our IDEA budget application for the upcoming federal fiscal year. And this grant application, we outline the big categories of how the money will be spent. However, we know that the American Rescue Package includes a significant amount of money that will be coming through the state to school systems. We do not know the final allocations yet. And so the budget that is currently posted on our website right now does not include the final dollar amount, and the final dollar amount will likely be higher. When we get those final allocations, we will update the draft on our website and make it very clear that it has been updated, and we'll post it again. I do not have a timeline for when those allocations will be received, but I do know that our final application is due to the federal government on May 21st. And so I'm assuming that we'll get those allocations before that time. And so all the information can be found on our website, and there's a link in the report as well. We are currently also working on enhancements to the statewide special education record system. And so we have, the platform has existed for a long time and is due for some major updates. One of the first initiatives that we'll be rolling out this summer is our reevaluation and waiver process and an update to that. This will require school systems to collect or enter certain information at least every 3 years at the triennial reevaluation deadline. And so this will functionally, change the waiver process that currently exists in schools, and will house more update. The goal here is to make sure that IEP teams have the most up-to-date information and that parents are not confused about what they should be getting every 3 years as students with disabilities are in school. And after that, so that'll be rolling out this upcoming school year. And then at the same time, we are planning major enhancements to the system so that the system is more user-friendly and that we just get better documents out, like in the form of IEPs, but also we encourage best practice with school systems around the state. And so there will be more enhancements coming in the 22-23 school year. So we're very excited about that. The next item is about SPED Fellow Academy, which is a year-long comprehensive development program for novice special education leaders across the state. This fellowship provides in-person training and virtual training, coaching, and mentorship with other leaders around the state. And so our applications are opening, they opened on April 12th, and it will close on May 14th. And then this will be our second cohort coming up for the next school year. We also have some upcoming vacancies on our SEAT panel. As you probably know, SEAT panel members each serve 3-year terms, and appointments are staggered so that 1/3 of the membership rotates off at the end of every year. So our application, when I wrote the report, the application was not posted, but it is currently posted on our website now. So we have those vacancies advertised. We'll be conducting interviews in May, and then appointments will be made in June. And the last part of our update is about the Fast Forward Regional Planning Grants. The Fast Forward initiative is designed to increase the number of high school graduates who earn associate's degrees or participate in high demand apprenticeship programs. And right now, the department has awarded, I think, 8 regional planning grants so that they can figure out how these programs will work in those areas. And you can see that they're in Assumption, DeSoto, East Baton Rouge, Jefferson, Rapides, Richland, St. Landry, and Vernon Parish. And so this will be a really cool program to watch. And I do think it could have great implications for students with disabilities and how they graduate. So that's the report, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Fletcher regarding her report? Any questions regarding the report for education?
There are no hands raised right now, Randall.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Jill, you have the floor.
It is a literal technical question. This, where it, I'm sorry, this isn't in coloring. I'm just, but this is the link to the idea budget that you have on your report. Okay.
Yes, it looks, I think on the report, it doesn't appear as in the color blue, but I do believe it still works. If you hover your mouse over it, it just clicks on it.
Go through it and get to it through the website. I'm just wanting to take a look at it because IDEA is my jam.
Mine too, so yeah.
Thank you, Jill, and thank you, Sarah. If there are no other questions for Sarah, your report will be filed.
Ryland.
Okay.
Hey, Randall.
Yes.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Rosalind has her hand raised.
Yes, Rosalind, you have a question for Sarah?
Yeah, for the idea for the budget, for the ports and that, how does that work? Does it have to be with the paperwork to go through to get it, or what?
So the application process is, you know, it's called an application process, but it is a grant. And so when we apply, we basically just outline the way we're planning. Basically, the federal government sends us the amount of money that we're going to get, and we have to then just show how we're going to spend all that money. Most of the money goes straight through to school systems, and it's really just flow through. So we don't, at the Department of Education, do not actually have any decision-making power over about 87% of the IDA budget. But then there is this other portion of the budget that is held at the State Department to, you know, to do these statewide programs. And so
because for me, you know, living here at Magnolia, we try to do things for the grant. And for me, I never understand, you know, what the grant, you know, how that works. And it's kind of knocking me, you know, for a loop.
Yeah, federal grants are very complicated. And this one is just something that states apply for, and then states are awarded. But I know there are likely lots of other grants out there available.
Thank you, Rosalind, and thank you, Sarah. Are there any other questions of Sarah regarding her report? Hearing none, thank you very much, Sarah. Your report will be filed. Okay, and so next on our list, we have the Office of Public Health. Patty, are you ready to give your report? Dr. Bearvecchio?
Thank you, Randall.
Thank you.
So the report submitted, you can review to see about the newborn screening programs, our hearing, speech, and vision program updates, and our children and youth with special health care needs programs and clinical services. They are still providing services through the public health unit. Some are virtual, some are in person. And the eligibility criteria and such can be found at the Bureau of Family Health, Children's Special Health Services information pages. There's also information there on the adolescent school health program, our Family Resource Center, which I'd really like to encourage you guys to disseminate that resource out to families and community partners. We have a very low volume of calls, and we believe that it's because many people don't know of the resource. It previously served only residents in Region 1. It was on the campus of Children's Hospital. And during COVID, we felt like the resource would be more beneficial to families as we're working to expand that to a statewide resource. So any family in any area of the state can either email or phone for services related to system navigation, resource support, resource linkage, and they will make and provide community referrals, whether it be linkage to early intervention services, waiver programs, and such. There's a nurse coordinator, there's a social service worker, there's a family consultant, all of which support the resource center. So I encourage you all to share that resource out so that we can ensure that all families in our state have access to those services. There's also a transportation assistance program for eligible children and youth with special health care needs. They have to meet certain criteria, but this stipend program is available to families when Medicaid transportation is not adequate or not doesn't suit that particular needs. These are special circumstances where maybe the family has to travel with more than one child or an extended period of time or needs isolation, so that under these special circumstances, Children's Special Health Services do provide a stipend program. And if any family wants information, they can contact the Family Resource Center and or their families, Helping Families organization in their region. We also are continuing work with our lead prevention program. Not only do they do information and support providers with care coordination for children with elevated blood levels, they also support abatement services for families with a child with an elevated blood lead level. So BFH and Title V, one of our big initiatives over the last several years has been work around improving developmental screening rates in our state to identify children as early as possible who are at risk for any type of developmental delay. And we are currently partnering with Louisiana Medicaid and the Louisiana chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics on a webinar series that will start May 4th. It is highlighting the new Louisiana developmental screening guidelines that were updated in December. Also highlighting the new Medicaid policy around provider reimbursement for screening services. And so I encourage everyone to share this out. If you are working in this space or your partners are working in this space, please alert them. Nurse, social worker, and physician continuing education credits will be available through those programs. And lastly, our Families Helping Families partners will also be offering resource information workshops for providers during the month of May and June. You can check your regional Families Helping Families website for information on those events, but it's the goal of these trainings are to build provider capacity within the community to care for children and youth with special health care needs. So if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Bervecchio regarding her report?
Yeah, can you really go back to where you have programs in that?
Is there a specific program, Rosalind, you'd like
Yeah,
information
go
on? I
back
can
up.
send it to you.
You can, but it's on there.
Okay.
Specific. It was like, it was saying something about the program because you just passed it up and that. So what kind of programs that, no, keep going up. It was like the GD programs.
There's a guide by your side program with the hearing, speech, and vision program.
No, it's right here. It's right here.
Okay.
This is, and that, right. So what kind of programs are those that you have? Because it's saying, in the parentheses, it's saying SCD. Now, what kind of program is that right there?
That the sickle cell disease program, it provides information and resources and services for individuals with sickle cell disease.
Yeah, because I never heard of it in that, but I would like to really read up onto your report in that, about that one in that, because I never heard of it, you know.
Well,
You
Rosalind,
caught my interest.
Awesome. Well, I will send, I'll send you a link. I'll send Courtney a link with to the information that the Louisiana Department of Health has all about that program. And again, for our programs, if you go to the Louisiana Department of Health website and search for the Bureau of Family Health, you can find lots of detailed information, but I'm happy to share any information or answer any questions about those programs.
Because you caught my interest, and I was, you know, when even with the BFH, what is that too?
I'm so sorry. I apologize for my acronyms. The BFH is who I work with, and we're the Bureau of Family Health. And the Bureau of Family Health is part of our Office of Public Health. And so all those programs that are outlined in the report all sit under the program Bureau of Family Health. So I'll have to remember. It just rolls right off my tongue because I'm so used to saying it.
Thank you, Dr. And thank you, Rosalind. Are there any other questions for Dr. Bervecchio regarding her report? Hearing none, thank you very much, Doctor, and your report will be entered into the record.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for all the work you do. Okay, and so our next report is from the Human Development Center, and Dr. Wilson, I believe, is with us. So Dr. Phil Wilson, are you ready to give your report, sir?
Sure. So I'll just give a very brief statement, and I think Courtney has a little video she's going to share with you. Our report should be in your packet as a link or however you get it. So I'm not going to go through that. I'll just simply say that during the fiscal year to the end of March, from the beginning of the year, so I can't really address just the last quarter, we've served about 5,500 individuals with disabilities and families and professionals who serve them under a variety of different formats. training technical assistants primarily, but about 700 or 800 of them have received direct services from us. So with that said, unless somebody really wants me to go through and read a report to you that I hope you can read on your own, I'll just leave it at that and ask Courtney. I don't see Courtney's face, but I know you're in there somewhere, Courtney. There you are. Oh, I see you. It's like Hollywood Squares, right? So Courtney, just let me set this up by saying right prior to COVID, we worked with a young man who is from a bilingual family. His mother speaks only Spanish, the father speaks some English, but primarily the whole family is pretty much Spanish speaking as their primary language. This young man at the time was about 18 years old and had been in special education in a school district that I'll just not mention for his entire school career, basically. And at 18, when we started working with him, he is deaf. And what we found out was that he had no language to communicate with. He didn't speak English, he didn't speak Spanish, and he didn't ever receive ASL or any sort of alternate language instruction. So we were able, just by circumstance and being part of the USED network, to be able to get him into a crash course, like a 30-day crash course at Gallaudet University, which is a university, for those who don't know, that its history is it was established and run for people who are deaf, and all their instruction is in American Sign Language. So anyhow, so it's just kind of a nice story to share with you, to see that all the programs and services that you all are hooked up with here or there, or you provide as providers yourself, sometimes we get to do something really life altering. And this is kind of a nice follow up to a story that we, I think, shared a brief video of his initial trip to Gallaudet. But Courtney, if you have the video, I think that's probably more than enough introduction, and you can roll it whenever you are able. Do I have to say?
Hello, Jolie here from the Human Development Center to share an update on paycheck participant Victor Castillo. So let's go. Meet Victor. He was born deaf into a Spanish-speaking household. Victor knew little English and had hardly any ASL education. At this time, Victor communicated mostly through homemade signs and texting. This was the start of Victor's paycheck journey, where he enrolled in Delgado classes for college and career skills with some ASL courses. However, Victor needed a full ASL education to better communicate through signing. So, Victor's paycheck team worked with LRS to organize a fully immersive summer intensive at Gallaudet University in Washington, D.C. This month-long experience allowed Victor to truly live independently. He was fully immersed in deaf culture. Victor was completely self-sufficient. In fact, this final photo is Victor ordering his own food for the first time in his life. Before Gallaudet, Victor was nervous to interact with people because he had very few ways to communicate. Now, he can accurately use American Sign Language. Today, Victor is back home and working in his first paid internship. He has taken several auto body courses at Delgado and works at Mako Body Shop in Kenner. He has made new deaf friends at Delgado and feels confident enough to shop for himself. There are currently 35 students in our paycheck program from the Jefferson Parish School System, and we have a new significant focus on 2 paid internships for each student. Follow the Human Development Center on social media for more success stories. You can find us on Facebook by searching Human Development Center at LSU Health Sciences Center, and we are now on LinkedIn with the same name. Thanks for watching.
So I just thought that that might break up a long day, let you see a success story that, as you heard from the narrator, involved a number of different agencies and organizations, LRS, local schools, Delgado, the Human Development Center, and other community organizations as well. So, together we can get a lot of really great stuff done for people. And I'm happy to say Victor is not only finished his internship, he was actually offered a job and has begun working at Mako or Mako, however you say it, the place you go get your car painted, and he loves it. So I'll take any questions or suggestions, comments, and other than that, that's it.
Thank you for your presentation today, sir. Are any questions of Dr. Wilson regarding his report today?
Dr. McKee has her hand raised.
Yes, Dr. McKee, you have the floor.
I just wanted to say thank you, Dr. Wilson, for all of the hard work and everything that you all are doing. This is the kind of information that we need, that we have to make sure that our families, our self-advocates know that what's going on in the community and what DD Council members are here for and supporting. Dr. Wilson, I'm wondering if you could share any recommendations, and it doesn't have to be online right now, but I know that the council is trying to put together videos with O'Neill Productions. And I am just so impressed with the way you all were able to put that video together. It appeared very inclusive of the individual's culture. Can you support our staff or add any contributions to that to ensure that our videos are an accurate representation of the work that we are doing out here? Thank you, Dr. Wilson.
Thank you, Heis. Those are very nice comments, and I will pass those on to the people who do all the real work. I think that we have a number of people here who would be thrilled to participate and not take over the show, but if there's a way that we can add to what the council is trying to get done, we'll definitely do that. So I can, like you said, we can do that offline if whoever it is that's spearheading that effort for the council wants to contact me. I can hook that person or people up with Jolie, who's the voice of the narrative and the brains behind a lot of our marketing and outreach efforts, and of course Sue Kellum and some of her staff who are actively engaged with post-secondary ed and employment and career focus transition.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wilson. We appreciate the work you and your team are doing. We look forward to collaborating on this and many other things in the future. Are there any other questions, Dr. Wilson, regarding his report? Okay. Okay, and so do we have anyone available, Chris or any of his team from Disability Rights Louisiana today? Anyone from Disability Rights of Louisiana present?
I didn't see Chris at all. I don't think he's even on
here today, but I wanted to make sure that someone from his office wasn't present before we move forward. Do we have a report from him at all? Courtney was one issue. I see it wasn't linked on the agenda for the website. So did someone from the agency turn in a report for us to file?
If it's not linked on our website, then we do not have one.
Right. Well, that's normally the case, but sometimes we get them in late. And so I was just curious if we had the report available. So we don't. So we'll just move along. Okay. So the Governor's Office of Disability Affairs, Bambi, if you're ready, you have the floor.
Hi, everyone. Our report is on the website. I won't go through everything, but get to just a couple of things. What really we're focused on right now is the legislative session. It feels like it's Sunday instead of Thursday because it's been so intense over the past 3.5 days in the legislative session. But if you notice in the first article of our of my report, I listed just some bills that the Governor's Advisory Council on Disability Affairs had voted to support, not necessarily bills, but just legislative proposals. Not all of these proposals actually made it to legislation, unfortunately. They were all really great bills, proposals. But just to make sure that you are aware, one of the bills is the Office of State ADA Coordinator. That is HB 446. It is in the governor's package, which means that basically the governor has about 20 bills in his package that he wants to make sure that are like his key legislative initiatives he wants to see happen. And that bill is in that package. It will be heard next Thursday morning in House and Government Affairs Committee. And Representative Rhonda Butler is the author of that bill. I sent Courtney an email and asked that she would forward it to you just to have some more information about that legislation. And if you felt the desire to email those legislators in that committee, we'd appreciate it. Also, we are actually Lillian Dejean has created a Google spreadsheet where we're tracking all disability-related legislative instruments for our office. So if you click on that link, you'll be able to see it updated kind of in real time. And we're tracking across all disabilities. Anything that we see that would affect people with disabilities, we're adding to it. We're adding who's supporting it, who's opposing it, and any other type of notes when it's being heard, just to kind of be able to pull everybody together and really get our disability community to work together, hopefully to have some positive outcomes for our disability community. One other thing, the state, what's the SILC, the Statewide Independent Living Council, is, as you know, is located within the Governor's Office of Disability Affairs, but they are working to actually should be out of our office by the end of this year. They will be an independent body, which is really great. We're really proud of that accomplishment, that they will be able to operate independently. And so we just want to let you guys know that we'll continue to support them in any way we can whenever they're outside of our office as well. And I think that's about it. Does anyone else have any questions?
It feels like it's 2 for 2 for me. I can't even think of one.
You do have a hand raised in the public, Randall, Miss Kathy Dwyer.
Please, yes, Miss Kathy, you have the floor.
Thank you, Randall. Thank you, Bambi. I have a question. I noticed in the spreadsheet, the tracking sheet on the legislative bills, that the Mental Health Coalition was in support of HB 172. Would you email me the contact for that coalition? I'd like to see if they would like to sign on our position statement for that.
That's what did your bill again? It's 172.
172, the dental for adults.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get that to you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Miss Kathy. Thank you, Bambi. Are there any other questions for Bambi regarding her report today?
Yes, Randall, you have two more hands, Ms. Jill Hano and Mr. Matthew Rivera.
Okay, Jill, you have the floor first, and then Matthew, you'll be next. So, Jill, you have the floor.
Okay, I've got questions. What when you first came on, what specific building you say that the governor was supporting?
It is HB 446. It is by Representative Rhonda Butler, and it creates a state office of ADA coordinator. So basically right now, if you know, in regards to the ADA, state agencies or any government entity that has over 50 employees has to have an ADA coordinator. Okay. Our state agencies have that, but it's not coordinated. It's usually people who have other job responsibilities that's tagged on. This person would be the state ADA coordinator, or this office, because we expect that it may be a more than one person job, but we just want to create this office at this time. But we'll be able to help and do some things that are proactive in helping our state entities, or even our local government entities or businesses. They could tap into trainings that they may do, that this office may coordinate, maybe some online resources, to be able to make sure that we're just prepared and we're doing what's right in all of our public places in regards to the spirit of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So it's really just a proactive measure for us to address the ADA.
And Ms. Kathy, what did you say the dental task force bill number was?
Kathy might not be. It's HB 172 that Kathy referred to.
Yes, thank you, Bambi. Yeah, Jill, if you want to call me or text me later, I can talk to you more about it.
Okay.
Thank you. Good seeing you.
You too.
And both of those bills are by Representative Rhonda Butler, who is a parent of someone with a developmental disability.
Okay, and so now, Matthew, you have the floor for your question.
Yes, good afternoon, Bambi. I mentioned it this morning in Courtney's executive director report, but I wanted to, again, bring to your attention, I didn't see it on your list, but you didn't scroll down the whole way. It's House Bill 628 by Representative Stefanski. This is a major issue regarding the online gaming and the revenues generated and the taxes generated from it. And in its current posture, which it was voted out of committee yesterday and was heavily amended, but still remains that a large portion of those funds go to a developmental disability, I don't know the exact language, service fund, which the DD Council would advise on how to utilize those revenues. So I'm not asking for your position on it, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention for your review if it's not already on your radar. Obviously, from a provider perspective, the Community Provider Association, we're really struggling under the current pandemic to find direct support staff. It's sort of an anomaly where we have, an unemployment rate of 7.8%. Yet we're having a very, very difficult time. I would even call it a crisis in finding direct support workers in this environment. It sort of doesn't make sense that, but people just aren't returning to work or they're still afraid of COVID. So I just wanted to, hopefully we can get your support for that, but I definitely to put on your radar to take a look, because this could be a huge opportunity for people with developmental disabilities in the state of Louisiana. So thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you, Matthew. And I did look at that bill whenever you talked about it earlier. And so it's not on our list, but I get Lillian to add it. And so just so you know, that list is basically any bill that affects people with disabilities. It's not necessarily a position. If there are positions that were taken, then we list that. So if the Community Provider Association takes a position, we can put in support, or if the DD Council is in support of something, or the Governor's Advisory Council on Disability Affairs, we're just kind of, basically it's just a place to put all these items together so people can know, what's out there that could affect the disability community.
Well, I would sure like the governor's support. Yeah, and I know that's a tall glass of tea, but anyway, if you don't ask, you won't receive. So please consider that.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, just to chime in, sorry, this is Brenton. It looks like 628, which Matt is talking about, it passed by substitute. So I think the new bill number is going to be 697. And it still contains that same language, apparently, where it creates that Developmental Disabilities Services Subfund, which is a subfund of the now trust fund. But it doesn't necessarily say what the funding should be used for. It just asks the Department of Health to partner with the council, as it does with the New Opportunities Trust Fund, to determine how that funding is spent.
Thank you for that clarification, Brenton. Thank you, Bambi. Are there any other questions for Bambi about her report?
Yes, Randall, you have Miss Jill Eagley and Rosalind Heimel.
Jill, you go first, and then after you, Rosalind, you have the floor. So Jill, you have the floor.
Jill, I think you need to unmute.
The latest with the chair, Mr. Zarang, about the home community-based services and that with DSPs. Did that pass, or we still don't know yet?
Yeah, so that I think you're talking about House Bill 1, which is our state budget, and that usually lasts throughout the session, the discussions on that bill.
So they have before the end of the session, June 10th, to pass that?
Yes.
Because my concern is like mines are Hifferty and Harris, and I don't know if they stand on that committee, but I mean, if they don't, will it still pass on both Senate and the House? Are we going to be level out? And the state tax situation, has that leveled out with COVID?
Well, I mean, it's kind of in the process of discussion. So you do have the committees, appropriations and finance, House appropriations and Senate finance that deal with the budget. And then for the tax side, you have House Ways and Means and Senate revenue and fiscal. So they decide the tax side. So you're really going to have to watch and be engaged throughout the process to see how everything works out.
How do I track that on the Louisiana Legislative website?
You just go to the website every day, and you can log in and watch those hearings as they're happening.
Because I know Louisiana State Legislature, both sides rely on the government, funding. But what if the funding is not legal? How's that going to be implemented? It needs to be leveled out. I'm concerned about that.
Yeah, well, they will. It'll end by the end of the session. Everything has to balance. That's state law that we have to have a balanced budget. So
Bambi, I hope you continue your legacy with the governor or whomever the next one is, because I'm very proud of your hard work.
Thank you, Jill.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jill. Okay, Rosalind, you have the floor now.
All right, I have two. I stepped away for the other half of your report, Bambi, but I only caught like the first part of it, and I don't have the paperwork in front of me. But how many total of, how can I say, of amount of, if it's money, is it considered with money for different cities or different, I mean, you see, this is when I caught the first one. I didn't catch the second because I stepped away from my tablet. Is
Rosalind,
there
I
like
don't think
different, isn't there like different forms or different, like what you was talking about earlier?
I'm not sure. My report, I don't think I talked about anything with money.
All right, you see, I kind of, I didn't catch all of it. So how can I get all your report though?
My report is on the website. I don't know if you have that. Yeah, I
So
could
how
post
can
the link.
Can you
No, I
post the
can't.
link in that?
No,
and
because I
can
don't
get
have
to it?
access to do it.
That's what I get for stepping away.
We can get you Bambi's report, a copy of it, Rosalind.
All right, thank you, Randall. That's
If you have
what.
any questions, we can get word to Bambi.
All right, thank you. I appreciate
You can
it.
call me, Rosalind, if you have questions.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Bambi. Thank you for all the work you and your team do every day.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone
I'm
have
sorry,
any-
Randall. Miss Liz Gary has her hand raised.
Yes, that was going to be that's my question. Thank you, Ebony.
Mm-hmm.
Liz, you have the floor.
Thank you, Randall. This kind of goes a little bit to the question just now to the one where earlier Matt had talked about this going, by Representative Scuffy, I can't say his name. Anyway, the one to do with the sports betting and that kind of stuff. I'm trying to look at the bill right now and read it. So I just want to make sure I understood what he was saying, or Bambi, where this is the money's going to go, the money from this will go into what used to be the Now Trust Fund. Is that correct, what I'm hearing, Matt?
Gosh, Liz, I don't have the bill in front of me, but I didn't pull it up 697, but I'd be happy to get that to you and we can read it. The way I briefly understand it, they're going to create a new fund within the Now Trust Fund, and the DD Council would work with the Department of Health on advising how to utilize those funds. That's what my understanding is. So it's sort of a sub fund within the Now Trust Fund.
Okay, because when you added the extra part where the DD Council would work with LDH on it, that's what the Now Fund or previous Now Fund stated. So I guess I'd have to understand that concept, but I guess it's the same thing as all the money going into that fund to be used according to what benefits home and community-based services was my understanding. But okay, thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Are there any questions for Bambi regarding her report?
Kelly Monroe has her hand raised.
Yes, Kelly, you have the floor.
Hey, I just wanted to kind of like piggyback on what Liz was saying. That Now Fund has been changed to, the name of it now is the Disability Services Fund, so that it included all of the disability services and not just the DD services. I think that was a couple of years ago. So Matt, I'm not sure how they're gonna do like I mean, it is called that right now. So I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of it so that, you could still move forward with what you were doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Are there any other questions for Bambi regarding her report? Okay, thank you very much, Bambi. Your report will be filed. Thank you for the work you and your team do. Okay, and last but certainly not least on our agenda for standing council member reports, we have the Governor's Office of Elderly Affairs. So, Ms. Michelle Guillory, are you ready to give us your report this afternoon?
Yes, sir, I am. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good afternoon, everyone. I will be brief because it has been a long day. My report has been filed. It is on the link. the main thing I'd like to point out today that's beyond the report is we have received additional funding from the Administration for Community Living as well as the CDC. We are waiting on spending authority so that we can allocate those funds to the area agencies on aging and the aging and disability resource centers. We've already received spending authority for 2 other grants that we've received along with the CARES Act funds. So in a nutshell, the councils on aging and the area agencies on aging will continue to serve meals and provide services within the capacities in the CDC guidelines. Now, we did get word this week. I had to leave the meeting this morning to go to an emergency meeting. The governor has approved the reopening of the meal sites and senior centers. The agencies, the councils on aging, will have to provide a plan to us on how they propose to do that, yet still maintain the CDC guidelines with social distancing, with the face mask requirements, and so on and so forth. That also means that some of the transportation services will be opening up to transport individuals. They're continuing to do transportation services and they're continuing to do meals, but right now the meals are being provided either grab and go, where they go to the center, they pick them up and they go home and they consume the meals at home, or they've been delivered to their homes. But once they open up the facilities, they'll have a choice. The participants will have a choice. The date that we've been given for the reopening is May the 3rd. So it's next, in 2 weeks. So that is good news for our seniors because they are ready to get back to some sense of normalcy. They want to see their friends. They want to see the council on aging staff. And they've cried out. Their thoughts were if the bars can open, then we can go back to our senior center. So they will be opening May 3rd. In some areas, it may take a little longer to open because they don't have the facilities ready to open yet, but it is in the works. So that is great news. We continue to work with the Emergency Management for the Disabled and Aging Coalition, which is MDAC for short. We have an upcoming webinar with the ULM. Matter of fact, Bambi forgot to mention it, but she's one of the keynote speakers. For that, I will be introducing Bambi, actually. And Amy Dawson with GOSEP will also be a speaker on emergency preparedness for the disabled community. So I have sent the flyer and information to Courtney, and I'd ask that you would please share that with the members. The flyer has just been developed today, I think, or yesterday. So we've been coordinating these efforts to try to get information up in that Northeast Louisiana, but it's open to anyone in the state. It is via Zoom. So it's a great thing that anyone can log in and get great information about emergency preparedness. So does anyone have any questions for me?
Any questions for Michelle regarding our report?
I told y'all I would be brief.
Thank you very much for your report, Michelle. If there are no questions,
I do have a question.
Okay, Jill, you have the floor.
Can't work Zoom. What
You have the floor.
your office was getting? Where were y'all getting additional funding grants?
We're getting additional funding from our federal partners, the Administration for Community Living,
ACL,
and the CDC.
Okay. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Michelle. Are there any other questions for Michelle regarding her report? Okay, hearing no questions. Are there any hands raised? I'm not seeing.
No hands raised, Randall.
Okay. So your report will be filed, Michelle. Thank you very much. Thank you for the work you and your team do. And I think we're ready to move now to public comment. So if there's any public comment from the public, now I'm ready to entertain it, to hear it.
Randall, you have a hand raised. Miss Kathy Dwyer.
Yes, Miss Kathy, you have the floor.
Hi, Randall. I was just looking up the bill y'all were discussing earlier, and it looks to me like they're changing proceeds from the gambling fund from going to the NOW waiver fund to public safety and some other things. I'm trying to pull up my website again while I'm looking at Zoom, and I can't. I'm still a little bit challenged with Zoom. But that might be something everyone wants to definitely put on their radar if I'm interpreting it correctly.
Yes, we certainly will, and thank you for letting us know that, Ms. Kathy. Are there any other questions or public comment?
Looks like
Jill Hoax has her hand up.
Okay, this is for public comment for my public, and then if we don't have any, I'll get to you after that, Jill.
I'm
So,
bad.
Are there any other questions from the public?
there are no hands raised at the moment.
Okay, and so now, Jill Hano, you have the floor.
I'm so sorry. Is Miss Robin Wagner still on?
I don't believe so. Courtney, is Miss Wagner still on the call with us?
I don't see that she's
I
on.
believe that's why she went asked to give her report early.
Oh yeah.
Because she had
Does anybody know what she said? They had a lot of transition during the midst of the COVID. Does anyone have a roundabout number of the people they were able to transition?
I don't know that we have that exact number, but I'll make a note and we'll get word to her, and I'm sure she'll put that number in her report she gives us next quarter.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
Are there any other questions from the public? One more time.
There are no hands raised.
Okay, hearing no questions and seeing no hands raised, I have to make a brief announcement, and that is to remind all council members that we all have to submit our, help me here, Courtney, my mind just went blank. The reports by May 15th.
Disclosure report.
Disclosure reports for Board of Ethics. We all have to submit those by May 15th of 2021. That's required for all council members to do. I believe everyone should have gotten an email regarding that already. If you haven't, please let us know, because we need to all have our reports completed and back into the state by May 15th, and that's a requirement for everyone who serves on a board and commission in the state. And so those must be done by everyone on the council. And so I just want to remind everyone to please look for that. You should already have it from us in your email. If you don't, let Courtney know, and they can get it to you as soon as possible. And please fill that out and get that back as soon as possible, because the deadline for that is May 15th. And they don't play around with that. That's very serious. So we certainly want to make sure everyone gets that in time. So that was just wanted to make that announcement before we adjourned. Please look for your disclosure reports in your email and get those filled out and sent back in before May 15th. The deadline is by May 15th of this year for this year's reporting.
Randall, you have Bambi's hand raised and Rosalind's hand is raised.
Yes, Bambi.
Just want to make a correction, Randall, on something that you said in regards to those reports. We all on the DD Council have to do those reports, but not all councils members in the state have to do that. I think it
My
has like
apologies.
a
My
threshold
apologies.
of like $10,000 that the council manage. I just didn't want anybody in the public to hear and then get confused if they're on a council that doesn't manage money.
Thank you. Yes, I should have clarified, and thank you for that clarification. We have to do it for our council, obviously, because we manage a lot more than $10,000. And so for this announcement was for our council. This is something we have to do, and those that manage funds, as Bambi pointed out, $10,000 or above, I believe. We have to do it, and that's what I'm making certain that the members know, that we on this council have to do that. And so that's been sent out already. So if you haven't gotten it or you hadn't done it yet, please don't put it off. Please get it done and get it in before May 15th. But the deadline to do so is May 15th, and that's not optional. We all have to get those turned into the state. So please be mindful of that. And that's, I wanted to get that out there before we adjourn today. I also need to let you know that council special session meeting that I'm calling for Wednesday. Again, I know I talked about it a lot this morning in my report. I'm going to reiterate again before we adjourn. Please, 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 everyone who's a council member appointed by the governor, please make every effort to be in attendance. This is the meeting where we will select the next executive director of our council. So it's very important. It's an all-day session, very similar to today. All we'll be discussing is the three candidates for selection. We will select one. We will select the final candidate who will be the ED by the end of the business day on Wednesday, the 28th, which is next Wednesday. So please, everyone, mark your calendars and do everything you can to be present. We really, really need your participation. All right, and the next thing is our next quarterly council meeting for the summer will be July 21st through, let me see, I gotta minimize here. July 21st and 22nd will be our business meetings for the next quarter. And I need volunteers for the nominating committee for the elections that we'll have this summer for executive committee. And I'll also be moving very quickly soon to make sure I have appointees for the two ad hoc committees, the youth forum, which will be chaired by Lillian, and the diversity committee, which will be chaired by Dr. McKee. I'll be finalizing those appointments in the coming weeks. And so please, if you want to volunteer for any of those, let Courtney and myself know. And I'll be making selections for all three of those. And we'll send out alerts on that as well. But I did want to make that known that those are committees that are forthcoming with appointments very soon.
And actually, we will have to convene a membership committee as well.
Yes, I thought so, but I wanted to get your clarification. So we'll have all of those coming very, very soon. So please, if you're willing to volunteer for any of those, just let us.
For the membership, does that require we have to pay for the membership or
No, there's no money here. The membership is about, we have several members of the council whose terms will be soon expiring, and the membership committee will convene to try to help select candidates for those open positions soon. So that's what they will be doing. But we will get word out. I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware that these things will be coming very soon. So I just wanted to make everyone aware of it. Okay, so if you want to volunteer for any of those, please just let Courtney or myself know. And I'll be making those appointments for all of those committees mentioned very soon.
Randall, you have a few hands raised. I see Rosalind's hand was up. I don't know if that was her question that she asked a moment ago, but also.
No, it wasn't.
Okay, Rosalind, what's your question?
For what you was talking about in that, but does it, I know we have to meet up for next Wednesday,
Yes.
like for today, that and also for the other one in that, how can we all group up does we have to vote for Wednesday?
Yes, we'll be voting. I'll explain all of that. For Wednesday, I will explain everything you'll need to know, and we'll be sure to get word to you beforehand on how you can participate and how it will be structured so that you feel prepared and ready to participate. So we will get with you. Courtney and I will get with you and make sure you have all the information.
But also with that 15th, do we all have to do that for the 15th? Because my computer, I don't get no emails out at all.
Okay.
So for
So
Brad,
actually already mailed that to you, but since you didn't receive your packet, I'm going to hand deliver everything to you this weekend. So I'm going to call you after today's meeting so that we can set up a meeting for Sunday, okay?
What the house number? Because I don't have a phone.
Do you want to give me a phone number right now, or do you want to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see if I have, let me go write it down.
Okay, there are other questions while we're waiting?
Randall, I have a question for Miss Courtney directly.
Yes, you can ask it, Jill.
Miss Courtney, I know the financial disclosure, I don't make 10,000 because I get government and
what
services.
we make. Hold on, it's not about what we make, Jill, as individuals. It's about boards and commissions who manage money, who manage public money. And so the council does that. And as a member of the council, we all have to submit the report, the disclosure form. And so you should have received it in email. If you have not, just talk to, I'll have Ms. Courtney reach out to you after this meeting and make sure that you have it.
She said that Miss Hannah or somebody at the office was going to send it because when I tried to open up the attachment, it wasn't there. But my concern is I don't mind to have my dad help me, but if he mails it back and addresses it, what if there's an issue and they disqualify and I can't be back on the
No, that won't happen. That won't happen. We'll make sure that you get it done in plenty of time. That's why I'm announcing it now, because I want to make sure everyone is aware that we have to do it. It's required. And so we'll make sure, Courtney and I will make sure that you get everything you need to get that done and completed.
And Randall, what is the state law for a self-advocate like me? How many years of being on the DD Council total for full term 8?
Well, a full term is 4 years, but there are some exceptions to that. If you serve on the executive committee, you get an extension if you're an officer.
Is that possible for me? Because I don't want to lose the DD Council. I mean, I don't work and I want to represent everybody in the state of Louisiana. And I just feel honestly that whatever's going, I'm not trying to have the negative effect toward anyone because I love you all, but I feel like it's not, doesn't change and I don't deal with change. So I want to be able to be in that committee so I can do my time and not lose my mind. Because when I lost the silk, when the silk ended, I lost my mind because I was part of with Stephen DeWin and Jessica Lewis and it was hard for me to say bye to them.
Sure, I understand. And we'll look, Jill, we will talk to you personally, okay? I'll give you a call and we'll talk about those issues, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I have, Courtney, I have the number for you. It's like a 504-301-2431. That's my group home number where you can reach me at.
Yes, ma'am.
Until I get my phone, because I have to update my phone. And
Are there any other questions regarding the announcements? Okay, hearing no questions, if there's no objection, I will have a motion for adjournment of our quarterly business meeting for today by unanimous consent. So if no one objects, we are hereby adjourned. Are there any objections to adjourning today's meeting?
don't you need
If
a motion?
If everyone agrees, we do not need a motion. So I'm asking, does anyone object to adjournment? Okay. So hearing no objection, we adjourn by unanimous consent. So thank you everyone for your participation today. And please follow those action alerts that are coming out as legislation moves through. We have the tracking bill up on our website. The banner, when you click on our website, please, be checking that regularly and following your action alerts you're getting. They're very important. And then, of course, we'll see you all next Wednesday. Thank you. Have a good evening and good day.
Courtney, call me. I have a question.